Thanks. Hi, everybody. Welcome back to the Rise podcast with me, your host, Katie Oman, author, women's empowerment coach, and book coach, as well as all around fabulous human being, of course. Now, I have created this podcast because I really believe in the power of story. I know that they have the power to inspire us, empower us, and make us feel less alone. And so by sharing other people's stories, I hope that it helps them and it helps me and it helps you as well in some beautiful way. And all that being said, I have another amazing guest for us today, and I know that it's going to be yet another conversation. It's really good. I know I say that every time, but I do so much. So let me introduce you guys to the wonderful Louise Danielle. Danielle, thank you so much for being here, my darling. I'm really, really happy that you agreed to do this with me. How are you?
I am so good, thank you, and super excited to be here with you today as well, and your wonderful guests.
Oh, awesome things. So, as ever, you know by now, watching this, that I let the guests tell us all about who they are and what they do. So I just think it works better that way. So, Louise, tell us all about you for people who may not have come across you before and the work that you do.
Yeah, great question. So and it's interesting because depending on what month I am in,
Sure.
really depends on what title I give myself. It's one of those things, isn't it? We're in a constant state of evolution and change when you're in this space of transformation. And I think when we transform and grow, we kind of shift in our identities. So, as it stands, the foundation of who I am and the work that I do is all about transformation and self-creation, helping people to create more abundance, joy, and success in their life by accessing more internal personal power and freedom from the ideas and constructs of mind that keep us stuck playing small and not stepping into our fullest, highest potential and power. So,
Wow, what an umbrella to hang stuff off. That's huge. I love that. Right?
Fantastic. Yeah, thank you.
It's great. And that's the thing, isn't it? As somebody who is a multi-passionate person, clearly, um, I always say to people, you find your umbrella, right? And so for me, it's women's empowerment. I am so passionate about it. But having it allows me then, because although it's niche, it's still quite broad, so that I can then hang off stuff underneath the umbrella that is aligned with that intention. Do you find that that's kind of what works for you as well?
Absolutely. And I think it's that thing. I've been doing this work now for 15 plus years. And over that period of time, I've worked with people from all walks of life and studied things from all walks of life. And it's so interesting, like to me, that I see no matter what problem somebody has, it always comes down to the same foundational transformational principles. If somebody wants to create change and they want to create more success, or they're struggling or suffering in a certain area of their life, no matter what the external circumstance looks like, the principles of transformation and change are the same underneath.
Yeah.
So, it kind of allows you to work with people from all different backgrounds in all different areas with all different struggles, in a way that's unique and tailored to them to allow them to create transformational change in the area of their life. Because ultimately, I find that everything comes down to our understanding of who it is that we are and how our experience of reality works and what illusions we're finding ourselves in. And that plays out, no matter whether it's weight loss stuff, relationship stuff, career stuff, business stuff, it's all the same underneath.
Yeah, absolutely. And it really is. I totally agree with you on that. It is your belief creates your reality rather than the other way around. Although, of course, your reality can obviously emphasize and kind of, really kind of concrete in, I suppose, that belief. But it's all about how you see yourself in the world. Absolutely. It's all about, do you think that you're deserving? Do you think that you're capable? Do you think that you can be happy? Do you think that, there is abundance available to you? Because if the answer to those things are no, then surely you're going to give yourself a harder time, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Well, everything is created from the inside out.
Yeah.
Our internal world consistently creates, and our external world will look for clues and pattern matches to reinforce, exactly like you said, to reinforce those beliefs. I think it's that one of Henry Ford's most famous quotes. It's often banded about of whether you think you can or you think you can't, you're probably right, because always an inside job. It's always an internal creation, and the external world matches and mirrors to reflect who it is that we believe we are, what it is that we believe that we're capable of, and how we think our experience of reality is being brought to life. Like, do we believe we're a victim of circumstance? And if so, we're going to look to those circumstances and allow the external world and other people to dictate what we believe about ourselves, not
Yeah.
knowing that we are the most powerful conscious co-creators of all of it.
Yeah, absolutely. And I totally agree with you. And I love that. I love that. And so it's really, it's such, because we talk about these things all the time. And there's so much stuff is bandied about, especially now with social media and hashtags. It's like, it's just everywhere. And sometimes it's like you can see this stuff, but you don't really have like a full grasp of it, a full understanding of how, especially how it relates to you personally and how it reflects to you and your life. And I think by the way you talk about it is that you break these concepts down into ways that feel very relatable.
Yeah, absolutely. And I was, interestingly, just this past week, I've had several conversations with clients who are stuck in certain areas, and they've studied a lot of personal development and law of attraction, and they kind of have an intellectual idea of thinking that they understand. But actually, the real problem is that they don't truly see how they are creating every single
Yeah,
aspect of their experience of self and their experience of reality. And it's like something magical happens when you really begin to wake up to the power that you are as a conscious co-creator of your experience of life. And it's like all of those ideas that you have about who am I to do this? Am I really capable? The self-doubts that I'm this, I'm that, fall away the minute you see the true miracle that we all are. And it's like,
yeah,
no longer then need to spend your time holding up this idea that, oh, I need to fix and change all of my beliefs because who I am is broken. It's like you get to see that that concept couldn't possibly be true when you wake up to the miracle of you ultimately.
well, I read a thing this week and I loved it as a quote. I was like, ooh, that's nice. We are not a project, we're a person.
Yeah, I love that. Love
And
that.
that's the thing with the self-development, personal development, we see ourselves as a project, as something broken to fix.
To be fixed. Yeah, and it's so, and and it's even, I think, from my perspective now anyway, I kind of see that there's starting to be a new movement. It's almost like the new evolution of personal development and change, because
Mm.
there are some amazing, incredible teachings and learnings in the personal development world and the law of attraction space. And,
Yeah,
they've transformed my life. However, so much of it is built on this foundational idea that who you are isn't enough, who you are is broken, you need to fix and change yourself in order to be better. And people stay stuck in this constant cycle of this unconscious loop of, oh, I'm not good enough, so I need to fix and
yeah,
change my beliefs. Oh, I'm not good enough, so
yeah,
I need to go and develop my money mind. And it's like not realizing that they're creating this reinforcement of this unconscious identity of who I am is not
yeah,
enough. As opposed to really seeing that all of you is like you cannot be you cannot be broken. There's experiences that we have that we don't prefer. There's experiences that we would call negative, but that doesn't mean that there's something wrong with you. And I think even the idea that we have to consciously aim to have positive thinking and never have negative thoughts,
mhm,
and if I do, then I'm doing it wrong, and there's something, all of this stuff reinforces this
yeah,
ego loop of I am not enough. And actually true
yeah,
freedom is found in seeing the magic and the beauty of who you are right here, right now. That's
yeah,
when we access our true power, when we're no longer afraid to have negative thoughts, where we're no longer afraid to be who it is that we truly are and judge and shame ourselves for the
mm.
experience that we have.
Yeah, no, absolutely, absolutely. I'm like high fiving you across the space. So obviously you are completely passionate about what you do, which comes across, which I love. But I'm wondering, have you always been in this mindset and always been this energy? And if not, how did you get here?
Oh my gosh, no. Well, that was the start of my journey ultimately. So I always say now that I am so grateful that I have experienced the darkest places we can go to in life as a human being. And I have experienced the most blissful places. And that has been such a gift to be able to no longer be afraid of the whole spectrum of the human experience. And
Yeah.
that's what led me to this work. There was a period of time in my life, going back to sort of my late teens, where I grew up with a strong belief that I was broken, I was a hideous person, I was unlovable, I was not good enough, I didn't want
Mm.
to live. And that led to the creation of my external life, absolutely reflecting that. And
Yeah.
I had I was diagnosed with different mental health problems as a result of how I was feeling, how I was living, and the actions that I was taking.
Yeah.
And that my world was a very, very, very bleak world.
Mm.
And that's what led me on this journey today, because I had an insight one day, and it was so powerful and so strong, where I literally had a new thought of insight that was, your life doesn't have to be this way. And that was the moment that set me on a path to something different, to a journey of self-discovery, of transformation, of change.
Yeah.
I didn't know what that would look like at that period in time. However, it was a case of, if that occurred to me at the right moment,
Yeah.
because had I not have had that insight, I know for a fact I would not be sitting here today. And
Mm.
what that allowed me to experience was a journey of curiosity into, why do human beings feel the way that they do? Why do we live in pain and fear and suffering and struggle? And I started to notice that the experience I had came down to a couple of things: that I was believing my thinking. I believed that it meant something about me, that it was real and true.
Yeah.
I was also living out the patterns that my mother had and had projected onto me as a human being, not realizing any of this at the time.
Mm.
Like, I was internalizing other people's words, other people's thoughts, other people's ideas and opinions of who I was. And I was living out of that reality. And the minute I started to see, none of that is real and true. Like,
Yeah.
I'm living a thought created experience of reality. And depending on, when I don't realize that, and when I don't know that, and if I believe my thoughts are instructions, and my thoughts know something about me and my life at that period in time, I was acting out on those and creating a very dark experience of life.
Yeah.
But I started to see that the reason people suffer and the reason people struggle is because they have no idea of the magic of who it is that they are. And they
Mm.
too are believing their internal dialogue and their external circumstances mean something about them. And that started to wake me up to a different experience of
Yeah.
life, and to become curious of, actually, what is this actually all about? That led me on a transformational journey that woke me up to life ultimately, and took me from the darkness to the magic and the wisdom and the beauty, and allowed me to go on to create phenomenal things that I would had no conscious idea were possible back then in
Yeah.
those dark days of experience.
Wow. It is, and it's incredibly inspiring and empowering, because it shows that it doesn't matter how dark it gets, it doesn't matter how seemingly low it gets, that there's always light there. And I'm not saying that in a toxic positivity kind of way, because I used to be that person. Yes, I think people kind of swing the pendulum, right? So if your life has not been fantastic in many different ways, and you're trying to kind of heal yourself, I think you're in danger of taking the pendulum and swinging it too much the other way. And I know that I was in toxic positivity for a while. Now I recognize that, trying to find the middle and saying that people's pain is valid, and, it's okay to not be okay. Absolutely. But it's recognizing that you are not your story. You are your story, but you're not your story. You are your thoughts, but you're not your thoughts, right? And I say to people, you're not your thought. And they're
Yeah,
like, what? And I'm like, well, yeah, because of course you're not. And you know this, because if
yeah,
you're not consciously thinking of something, the thoughts still come. You are the watcher of your thoughts. And if you have the power over that, then you have the power to choose a different thought, right? But it's practice. I think that's the bit that people kind of want, is this, because we're in this instant gratification society, this quick fix. People go, well, I want to be better, so I want to be better like now. And it's like, it's a practice though, isn't it?
yeah, absolutely. And I think, and that's the thing, it's an awareness and understanding. Like, for me, education has been the most powerful thing of, like, when we
Yeah,
start to understand, oh wow, like, I am experiencing not very pleasant feelings right now. But the
yeah.
difference comes when we think there is something wrong with us for that. We are
Mm.
going to blame, we're going to shame, we're going to judge ourselves, we're going to go down a whole rabbit hole of, this is me, I'm broken, I need fixing, why can't I do this? And we spiral, because that's the way that the brain works. We're designed to
Yeah,
pattern match more of what it is that we're experiencing. But the freedom comes when we can start to understand that, exactly like you said, that I am not my thinking and my thoughts are not instructions. I am witness to the
yeah,
experience that is constantly arising within me. And that means that I can experience a negative thought, that I can experience self-doubt, that I can experience fear, and that I don't need to be afraid of it, and I don't need to change it, because I get to recognize what it is. And, you know, we
Mm.
cannot experience happiness without knowing sadness.
No.
We cannot experience light without knowing dark. We
Yeah.
cannot experience joy without knowing fear, you know. And it's like we there's an idea that in order to be okay, we can only have the good stuff. That's not the human experience. And it's not about, the thing is as well, the more we start to become witness to, wow, this is how experience is working, and not just for me, for every single person. Like,
Yeah.
I think we're up to like nearly 8 billion people on the planet now,
Yeah.
and in any given moment there are 8 billion different experiences of
Mm.
reality happening for every single person. And not only does it create more freedom for us, it allows us to see the innocence in every single person. It allows
Yeah.
us to have more understanding as to why people do what they do. We become free from the idea that circumstances are dictating and determining and creating who we are and how our
Mm.
experience of reality gets to be. It's like, this is the place of ultimate freedom and power. And that is not about never having any negative thinking, never having self-doubt, never having fear, but it's about becoming witness to those experiences and realizing, wow, I really am creating all of it. And because of that, I do not need to be afraid, because in every new moment, a new experience of reality will arise within me.
Yeah.
But if I'm holding on to this one, going, this one's real and true, and this means this about me, then we're going to experience more of that. Whereas
Mm.
when we get to sit back and see the miracle that we are, and recognize that we are witness to all of it, life becomes this magical game of creation and play, some of which we prefer, some of which we don't. But we don't need to be afraid of any of our experience, and we don't need to make it mean something about us.
Oh, but we do. We personalize everything. I was
Yeah.
talking to a client this morning and I said, most people like to think that everybody is thinking about them and talking about them and it's all about them, right? So yeah, and I think the current status is there's 8.1 billion people on this planet, right? So if you imagine that you are a bubble and you're thinking that the 8.1 billion other bubbles are all thinking about you and everything they do is all about you, right? But this other bubble over here, which is this person, so this is me, this is you, you're thinking that everybody's thinking about you and everyone does is all about you. Well, how can that all be true, right? Because it can't all be about us. We're not the sun, right? We're not the center of the universe. So what it is, and I realized this, is that we're actually the largest Venn diagram you can imagine. Because yes, some stuff is about us, sure, but the majority of it is not. And that's okay, because everyone's thinking about themselves most of the time, right?
Yeah.
And it's
Yeah.
that story of, what are you telling yourself? What program? If you're a computer, what program are you running in your brain
Yeah.
at that time?
Absolutely. And you know, it's that, like, we are the center of our own universe.
Yeah.
You know, it's like exactly like you said, we always think everyone's thinking about us. And
Yeah.
again, even if they were, which is an impossibility that they can't, even if they were, so what? Because
Yeah.
every single person in your life right now has a completely different character and version of you. Like,
Yeah.
every single person has a completely different character and version of Louise. Every person in my life, you know, every single person in your life has a completely different experience of Katie. But it's like every single person online has a completely different version of me, because it's
Yeah.
always an internal job. It's always an internal creation. And again, when
Yeah.
we don't see how this game of reality is working, we fear judgment, because we
Mm.
think it's real and true, it means something about us, and we don't see
Yeah.
that actually that's just that other person's experience of
Mm.
reality, running their idea of you through their own filters and through all of their rules about how life should be, who you are, who you're not, and what you mean to them. And
Yeah.
it's like, again, so much freedom is created when we start to see how this game of life works, that it's
I love
all
that.
illusion.
I love that. And you mentioned earlier about, repeating cycles of behavior from our parents. I know that's a really big one. And obviously coaching women and empowering them, a lot of it does come back. Of course, we do have to go back to, to kind of stereotypical, tell me about your childhood. But it really is, because you carry those stories and those messages and those patterns of behavior. And it's just from your perspective and your take on things, like, how do we even start to process that and work through that?
Yeah. Well, again, it's like that happens because we create everywhere we go. We are never not creating. We create the people in our life. We create experience, the meaning of our everyday experience. And the same happens with our kids, you know, and with us. We were created by our parents' ideas of who we were, our parents' ideas of parenting, the school environments, the home environments that we were in. We looked to the world, and our ideas of right, of wrong, our identity was formed by somebody else. And 9 times out of 10, their identity was formed by somebody else, by their parents' ideas. And again, it's like this one big process of creation. And there's a moment in our life that occurs at a very, very young age. When we look at babies, like, they are so innocent. They don't have an idea of self. They don't have an idea of right, of wrong, of the way to behave, of any of this. They are pure consciousness in motion. But there becomes a moment in time in each and every one of our lives where we have what I call the realization of separation, where we realize that there's a moment where we go, oh, I'm separate from my mum, from my caregiver, from whoever that is. Oh, that means I'm separate from this person and I'm at risk. What do I need to do to get back to that feeling of wholeness, to experience connection, to experience love, to experience worthiness, and to experience belonging? And our whole entire childhood is created, and then goes on to adulthood, is a game of, what do I need to do in order to get what I believe I don't have, which is love from this person, approval from this person, praise from this person. Because if I don't, I'm going to die. If I get judged, if I get punished, I'm going to die. And while all of that is going on, we're being told that you don't deserve to have that toy because you haven't been good enough. You know, you can't have, you should. And all of this, all of these different experiences that we have from a young age are literally creating who we believe that we are. And we live out of those ideas, out of those characters, out of those identities for the rest of our life. And everything that we experience, our brain is designed to pattern match. Yes, this is who you are. See, this is who I am. And we can spend a lifetime in these patterns and in these cycles of believing that we are lacking, that we're not good enough. This is why we are in an epidemic of I am not good enough.
Yeah.
And everything that the way that the Western world is set up is to reinforce this idea. You are not good enough unless you buy this certain house and you drive this certain car and you have these certain clothes and you have this amount of followers, then you'll be good enough. And so it keeps us stuck in this constant seeking and searching to fix and prove ourselves, which is why the personal development world has done so well and is doing so well. However, so many people still stay stuck because not all of it points us back to this experience of wholeness and oneness and seeing, wow, I'm not any of that. Who I am is not my identity, not my thing, not my idea of self. And again, it's like the more you start to see that and become witness to it, that's when you truly start to become free to live in a way where you step into more conscious creation of, if I'm not my identities, I'm not my conditions, I'm not this, I'm not that, who is it that I am? And what would I love to create? And how do I consciously use these tools of creation to be able to bring that forth into my life and experience more of myself in that way?
It's amazing. I mean, it's so like, I'm just listening, my brain is, I can feel it going, huh? Just listening to you, it's really funny. And it is, I think a lot of people watching this will also have those like, huh moments, because I think that sounds really good. And it certainly, we can understand that again from that logical perspective. I think it also feels massively overwhelming because it's like you're being given keys to your own castle for the first time in your life, right? And it doesn't matter what age you are, that's now like, it's empowering, but it's also terrifying because it's, and the choice. I remember, I can say this to people all the time, that moment in school when you're 15, 16, and you're taking it into a career development, career officer, whatever, and they ask you that question, what do you want to do when you leave school? Or who do you want to be? And I think at 15, 16 years old, how the hell are you supposed to answer that question, right? Because you don't know who you are at 15 and 16. But the point is that even at 42 years old, which I am at the moment, I mean, I have a better sense of who I am, but I still don't, it's a lifelong process, right? And so that freedom to, you get to choose, you get to create, you get to be whoever you want to be, you get to focus on what matters to you, who you want, all these things. They are massive questions. And I think that sometimes it's so big that some people just don't make any movement at all.
Yeah, absolutely. And one of the mystic teachers who I love to follow, Caroline Mace, her name is, and she says those kind of questions aren't questions, they're prayers. And not from a religious perspective, because take religion out of it, but when we're asking those questions, they are like, show me who I am.
Yeah.
Show me what's possible. Show me what I would love to create. What is in my heart? And every word we speak is a powerful act of creation. And when we start to look down that path, our external world will change.
Yeah.
Our life will be moved. New ideas and new wisdom will begin to flow through us. And I remember when I had my first insight into, oh my God, I'm really not who I think I am. Like when I really had a powerful moment of my whole world collapsed. And it was the most beautiful, magical thing in the world, but the most terrifying at the same time.
Yeah.
Because I had a moment of, and it was right before I was about to deliver an 8-week transformational group program about how to shift and change your beliefs and fears. And I had a moment of, it was literally the weekend before that started, of, oh my God, none of that is real. So if we're focused on trying to change them, like we're still stuck in the game of illusion. And then it was like, so what else isn't real? And my world literally started to unravel. And I realized all of the drama that was going on in my relationship at that moment in time, none of that was real. All of the things that I thought people had done to me and the experience, like none of that was real. All of my ideas about self, none of that was real. And it literally, like I say, I went from like crying in euphoria to, oh my God, and everything's so beautiful. And it was a real enlightenment to, oh my God, none of it. So who even am I? And who am I with my work? And what does any of this mean? And, it really was the start of a journey of deeper transformation and self-discovery because, and it takes courage because naivety is sometimes a safer place to be because it doesn't require the level of personal responsibility that stepping into this knowing actually does. Like it really does require courage.
Oh God, it takes immense bravery to face yourself. Immense bravery to say, who am I and who do I want to be and what do I want to really do is really brave, right? It's easier to sit in a space of negativity and complain. Right, it just is, and you can be miserable about that, but it's easy to sit in that space because you don't have to do anything. You just have to sit there and moan, right?
Poor me, and I'm here because this happened to me, and that circumstance, that circumstance, and that circumstance. So I am powerless, and that's ultimately what we're saying. However, the journey is difficult, but it is the most incredible, abundant, miraculous journey that you will ever step upon. And it's not going to happen overnight. And the most simplest place to start is beginning to become witness to your thinking moment to moment and recognizing when you feel a certain way, what is it that I'm thinking in this moment in time? And this is not to change it, but to become witness to it and to recognize that when I feel something different, this is what I'm creating in my mind. When I feel sad, this is what I'm creating in my mind. Just become witness to your experience of reality. And anytime you want to go into blame or shame, recognize what story am I telling myself? How am I creating this experience? And it gets to be as simple as that. Like that's the simplest place to start. And that can be a really beautiful process.
I totally agree with you. I mean, my therapist said something to me that was even now, if I think about it, it's such a great question. It's so simple, yet a great question. She said, you're always something to somebody else. What about you? And I was like, it was really like a mic drop moment because I was like, I don't know. And it is because that's the other thing you have to be aware of is that you identify with the roles that you play, right? Gosh. So if I say to somebody, who are you? Tell me about you. The first thing they'll do is they'll go, well, I'm a wife, I'm a mother, I'm a daughter. I'm like, okay, take all that away. Take all of that gone. It's not a nice thing to think about, but let's say all those people in your life are not there anymore, but you're still there. Who are you? Right? And it's like taking all of that, focusing on yourself, not in kind of a narcissistic way, obviously, but kind of from an exploratory way, looking at yourself as like understanding yourself and having that self-awareness, I think is a really good place as well to restart seeing yourself differently.
Yeah, curiosity is the key to all of this.
Yeah,
You know, questions of who am I without any of those labels?
yeah,
Who am I without any of my ideas of self? Who really am I at my core, at my heart? And when
mm,
you start to see that who you truly are is a moment of consciousness,
yeah,
that's it. Moment
yeah,
to moment, there is an experience of you. There is an
yeah.
experience of I am, and that's it. And
Hmm.
what a gift, you know, and
Oh,
it's like it takes time to get there, but it's like you start to see, wow, I am life being lived. I,
yeah,
you know, I am a moment of consciousness. I am a moment of magic. I am a co-creator of every single thing I experience. And it's like, that's the foundation. And then the labels that we stick on all of that, they're the very thing that, like you said, keep us stuck playing in these certain roles.
yeah,
When we're stuck playing in certain roles, we don't access the true power and potential that we really are.
yeah.
And the
And
minute we
it's
start,
not to say that that label then should be dispersed of and put in the trash. It's to say, for me, it's like when I, as a mom, if I take away, if I put the label down for a second and I focus on myself as co-creator and the total power ass, kick-ass woman that I am, I actually then can pick up that label in a completely different energy. Because
yes,
I'm not a victim in that space. I am a powerful creator in that space.
yes, it expands all of those
Yeah,
labels. You know, the
yeah, yeah.
labels that serve us and the labels that we want to have more of, we get to expand and step more consciously and powerfully into those. And the
Mm,
labels that haven't served us so well, that have led to us being stuck and constricted in certain areas, when we see that they're not who we are, we get to let them go. And again, this is like, this work is really about accessing more personal power and
yeah.
freedom to
Mm,
consciously create and live the most abundant, beautiful life, because life happens moment to moment to moment. Yet
yeah,
most people spend 95% of their time in the past or in the future,
yeah.
never experiencing and being witness to the abundance and magic and beauty of what's here right now.
Yeah. And life happens regardless, right?
Yeah.
It doesn't matter what your mental space is. It doesn't matter what you're focusing on. It doesn't matter how present you are. It doesn't matter how you see yourself. Life is still happening.
Yeah.
Time still goes past. That's what it does, right? So
Yeah.
it's like, do you want to look back, get to a place when you're older, hopefully for most of us, where you look back and you go, do you know what? I lived my life. I was a creator. I took charge of my life and I made it happen. Or you're going to go, God, I have regrets.
Yeah. Yeah. And the
And then
thing
everyone feels better to me.
yeah, and we, you know, it's like it's that difference between being a conscious creator and a victim of
Mhm.
circumstance. Like, what
Yeah.
experience do you want to have? And
Mm.
you know, again, recognizing that you get to create no matter what age you are, no matter
Yeah.
how you've seen your life up until now, no matter what experiences you have lived. Every single person has the ability to create an entirely different experience of themselves and their reality and live the most abundant, powerful, blissful, beautiful life, because all we ever have is experience. That is it. The only thing we are ever going to have is experience. Even the stuff that we see around us, we don't have it any more than we experience it
Yeah.
internally. Life is one big game of experience and creation. And you get to wake up and see that you are the co creator of all of it. And the more willing you are to go down that journey will determine the more magical and blissful your life gets to become.
Oh, I love it. I love it. Has this had an impact on the people around you? Do you find that you light other people up just by having this kind of mindset? Is it like
Yeah,
there's a ripple effect around you?
absolutely, because we feel it, right? We literally feel the energy of other people that we're
Yeah.
around. You know, it's done two things where so many people say to me, "Oh my God, I just love being in your presence," because you just always feel so calm and whatever. And I'm not always calm, you know. I have moments. I'm a human being like everyone else, but the majority of the time, my experience of reality is present moment, and we
Yeah.
feel that. We feel when we're in the presence of somebody who is with us in that
Yeah.
moment. You know, it's like this is why coaching and this space is so powerful, because to have somebody deeply listen to you and be
Mm.
with you and hold space for you, that's powerful, because
Yeah.
most of the time we're not seen and heard. Most of the
No.
time we're not present to the moment, and we witness that. And so, you know, that's made a very big impact in my life and the lives of other people around me. But also, it's allowed me to really let go of judgment and to
Mm.
see the innocence in people. Like, I'm able to be more present with people because I can see and understand that they too are experiencing their own internal version of reality. And sometimes for them, it's a scary space.
Yeah.
Sometimes for them, they're in a place of despair and not niceness. And that comes out in different actions. And
Mhm.
rather than needing to blame and judge people, I get to be witness and see the innocence in their own actions while simultaneously seeing the magic that they are. Like really
Yeah.
seeing that you are not this behavior, you are not your ideas about self, you have
Mhm.
no idea of the magic and beauty of who it is you really are. And to be able to hold people in that space,
Yeah.
that creates a container for so much possibility.
Yeah.
And it has the ripple effect is huge because other people feel that, whether you don't even have to say anything, but just
No.
being with someone and seeing them and witnessing in that space, that creates a ripple effect, whether it's the smile that you give to someone on a checkout, or the conversation that you have with the postman when they're handing you your stuff in the pouring rain in the morning. Like when you're present with someone and you see them and you witness them, it's like, let alone with your own family and with your own friends, this ripple effect is huge. We never know the influence that we're having
Yeah.
on the world around us, and we are always having influence.
Yeah. Absolutely. Absolutely. Love that. So, knowing all that you know now, it's quite a big question, I suppose. If you had a DeLorean parked up front and you could go back, what would you say to that younger self of knowing what you know now? And more importantly, would she listen to what you had to say?
That is a good question. I love that question. I think I would, that younger version of me in that moment, I would give her a massive hug and just
Mm,
know that she's loved. Because, oh, it's making me emotional thinking about it. So much of the suffering and the despair that I felt about myself was because I I wasn't aware of the feeling of love. I
yeah.
wasn't aware, and that can sound really like woo and washy, but I'm talking about love, connection, that you matter,
Mm,
that you belong. And when we are up in our head, when we're believing our thinking, we're disconnected from the the feeling of connection and love that is always present in the
yeah.
present moment. And I don't mean romantic love from other people, but that feeling of deep connection, deep gratitude, and deep love. So I think I would just give her a massive hug and give her a moment of feeling the experience of
Mm.
what it feels like to truly be loved.
I
Um,
love that. Because I say you think of yourself when you're 18, and for all of the outside bravado, for all of the I've got my stuff together and I know where I'm going, and it's like the most insecure fear space mentally ever. Like,
yeah,
because you don't know who you are, like I'm saying, and you look at other people and you're convinced that you're the problem. You're convinced that everybody else has got their stuff together, and you're the one that doesn't. You're the one that no one likes you really, and it's all of this constant need for validation, constant need for proving yourself, and to realize, like you say, that message of you are enough, you are enough. It's yeah, it's beautiful. And I think a lot of people would really resonate with that. So yeah, I get that. So what's next for you on your journey? I know that you're present and you try and be present, but I also know that we have to think about our future. So do you have any other plans for more transformation in your own life?
absolutely. And that's the magic, isn't it? Like we're not always present in the present moment. And the game of creation requires time travel, traveling into the
Mm,
future to go from this present space, what now would I love to create?
yeah,
And for me, that really looks like taking what I've seen around creation and what I help my clients with on to a much bigger level. So I really want to share more about this work and the transformational steps for change in the wider world. So I work with people at the moment on an international level with coaching clients and things like that, but it's very much been more of a one-on-one coaching environment. And
yeah,
I'm now looking to really expand to more group programs and bringing this work to people in a more accessible way and in bite-sized chunks of everything we've talked about. Well, what does that bit mean? And how do I do that? And what does that bit mean? And kind of really simplifying the work in a way that makes it accessible to people, where it doesn't sound like some woo magical enlightened journey that you need to go and sit under a tree and meditate to experience for 4 days. But it also doesn't mean like spending hours and hours on mindset work trying to fix and change yourself. Like, how do we find the balance between the two and go on a journey of transformation and self-exploration from a place of curiosity and personal power? So you know, got a couple of different programs coming out, one very soon actually called Identity, which is a journey to really explore who is it that we are and how do we powerfully create from a perspective of business and that side of things. And then I want to create some more some smaller kind of programs and things around reality recoding, which is ultimately what I call that element of it, of how do we recode our reality to experience the truth of who it is we really are. And with that comes, as you know, the YouTube stuff, the social media side of things, and all of those different projects. So I am very much in a space of future creation, but from a present power moment right now.
I love that. It all sounds so juicy. I was like going, oh, that sounds so juicy. I love it. So if people want to, if they're curious and they kind of go, oh, that sounds amazing, where can we find you online? Whereabouts are you?
Yes, so I am on all the different social media channels. You can look at my website, which is louisedanielle.com. There's a free transformational 6 steps to transformational shifts on there, a PDF ebook that will break down some of the reasons why people stay stuck and how to implement these little bite-sized things that will help them create transformation and change. Obviously, you know, Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, but, you know, also if anyone's got any questions, feel free to reach out to me, you know, drop me a message on one of the social platforms. I'm here to answer questions and support people in any way that I can, but you'll find all of my on socials.
Wonderful. Thank you, Dan. I will put all these links down here. So, you know, watch the end of this video and then go and check her out, because I guarantee you that everyone watching this has got some part of their life where it feels a bit wobbly and a bit, and so if you're watching this and you're like, oh, that sounds amazing, but I don't know how to begin, I'm sure to have those initial conversations and to have that information would be great. So thank you for that. I appreciate it. But listen, honestly, thank you, Louise. This has been, I knew it was. I told you before we started recording, I knew this would be juicy and a really good chat. And it has been, and I've really enjoyed it. So thank you ever so much, darling. It's been awesome.
Yes, no, thank you. I've really loved speaking with you. And yeah, I hope everyone that's watching has got some little nugget of wisdom or insight, or even just a little opening of possibility for themselves from it. So yeah, thank you for having me on.
You're very welcome. And I thank you guys for watching the video. I can say, if this is hit, if this has resonated, then reach out, drop a comment below and I'll pass it Louise's way if it feels easier. But yeah, just let us know, because we're here to always support and empower as much as we can. But anyway, thank you guys for watching the video. Thank everybody lots of love. Give me a little like and a share. I appreciate it. And I will definitely see you on the next one. Take care. Bye.